Welcome into TexAgs Rewind presented by T-Mobile. They want to remind you guys to visit T-Mobile.com/acrossamerica to learn how you can get value in coverage with T-Mobile. We've had a lot of value and a lot of great coverage from the Aggie defense, guys. How about that?
Yes, sir.
Outstanding. Love it.
Our fan show friends are here, Kelly and Matt, and we're breaking down the show today. So the Go Hour, we spent a lot of time on the basketball team. And the rest of the show, we spent a lot of time on the basketball team because those guys can flat out bring it. You having fun watching the NIT, Kelly?
Yes, sir.
Loved it so far. It's been a blast.
Ain't missing it.
It has been fun, all right. We also talked with Stephen McGee. That's Bullcrap. Lane Kiffin might have come up, just saying. And we also had Coach Schlossnagle on with us as the Aggie baseball team is really looking much better. They still got to work on the bullpen a little bit, but a big series win over LSU and nice win over Rice. We also had Aaron Torres here on Around College Basketball, breaking down the NIT and the NCAA tournament. It is TexAgs Rewind. I will tell you, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot into it here during the show, but it was so nice to see that old school Aggie basketball team there. AC Law in attendance, Joseph Jones in attendance, Dominique Kirk in attendance, Josh Carter in attendance. Obviously, Steve Forbes and AK there on the Wake Forest side. Logan Lee made an appearance. It was just, I saw somebody who tweeted this, and I can't take credit for it, but it was over for Wake. When those guys were in the building and they show AC on the big screen with his kid, the place erupted.
Yeah, and then I saw a lot of the football players.
Yeah.
I saw Leon O'Neal and
Kenyon was there. Jalen was there.
Jalen Wademeyer. There was a lot of excitement around the A&M basketball, and that was nice.
That place, and maybe it's because it's been a while, but it gets loud. For what was it, 9,000 people there last night?
8,201.
It got really loud, and maybe it's because I'm sitting right next to the students, and they're super. It is. I don't want to say deafening, but for that size of crowd and that kind of impact, it was.
Well, Reed can be a great place if your team is good and they're excited. I can remember, and I think it was 2016, they were routinely selling out Iowa State, Baylor, Kentucky, and it was a great atmosphere. But for most of this year, it's been quite apathetic. But now you're seeing a groundswell of support, and they're loving not just that it's the A&M team, but the way they're playing.
Yep.
And it's not just the way they're winning; it's the way they're winning. It's just a fun team to watch right now.
All right, Stephen, love for you to give us your initial reaction to all this Lane mumbo jumbo.
I love it. Here we are as if it's a surprise. We've been talking about this all the time. NIL deals, you want to start paying players, all the players are going to go to the top. It's ridiculous to think otherwise. You're going to have a battle of the top 10 football teams. The government has been, they're always trying to interject into business, right? And to keep businesses from, merging with or buying another business and from it becoming a monopoly, right? We're very aware of that. But here we are, the government interjecting into college sports, and what they've essentially done is create monopolies, because it's going to be who has the deepest pockets to pay these guys. Eventually, you're going to, in my opinion, as this thing continues to escalate, you're going to see situations like what Texas has, where they're paying every scholarship offensive lineman $50,000 a year. And so it's going to be a matter of what's affordable and what's not. And so a kid's making a decision of, well, I can go to Texas, get the same, get a great degree, get paid $50,000, or I can go to TCU, get maybe as good of a degree, and get paid $0. Well, that's a no-brainer for that kid. I know ultimately you want to go somewhere where you can play at the highest level in the NFL, but the top 5, top 10 schools in the country are going to all have that opportunity for you. Great facilities, great football coaches. So to act like we're surprised that the teams at the top are going to be able to pay players more and get better recruits is ridiculous. Now, I would argue that A&M signing class, the majority of those guys did not get NIL money, did not get paid, contrary to popular belief. And I don't think they got paid near as much as what people would report or say they did.
Yeah, we haven't kind of spent as much time together as I'd like, because our seasons, the dead times of the seasons kind of don't match up. But I watch, I've watched practice. I've watched from afar. Coach Rockeford, Steve Rockeford, and I have known each other. We used to live he was an assistant basketball coach at Tulane, and I was an assistant basketball coach at. Let me start over. He was an assistant basketball coach at Tulane. I was an assistant baseball coach at Tulane, and we actually our offices were next to each other, and our apartments were across the hall from each other. So I've known Rock for a really long time. He's I'm a way bigger basketball fan than baseball, and he's a way bigger baseball than basketball. So we talk a lot. So I kind of I get to know a little bit about their club and the recruiting, especially with Coach Rock. But I look forward to spending more time with Coach Williams when our times match up. But I know he's a big culture guy. He's super positive. I have a friend who has seats down there by the bench, so I enjoy getting to watch how he handles his club, and super interesting how he handles timeouts, and he kind of gathers himself before he goes in and talks to his team. So there's a lot of things I can learn from him because I get super emotional and competitive during games, and he always seems to be really in control of the moment and what he wants to say to his club during a timeout.
Jim, let's look back at some of the offense recently against Rice and LSU, the series, 7 homers. You guys are starting to hit the ball real well, going deep in counts, finding the hit that you guys want. What's been the difference?
Well, I think first of all, in terms of the home runs, the difference a little bit has just been the weather. We played, I haven't played a full season in Bluebell Park, but it seems like every single game we played at home, we've had that north wind, and I can count on 2 hands some of the balls we've hit that could have been homers in that north wind, and I know we had 2 in Frisco with the north wind. Austin Bose would have had a grand slam up there if we'd had a normal day, but that's part of it. But baseball is, I know people hate to hear this, but as my buddy Ron Washington says, that's how baseball goes. And I think I was super confident in the approach that our hitters had for the most part going into the season. I think maybe some guys pressed. I think some guys got off to a slow start. Let's don't get fired up over a 4-game stretch, and let's don't get down over a 5 or 6 game stretch when we don't. It's a long season, but guys did a really good job of staying on the baseball. We laid off pitches down. And I think if you went through and you reviewed most of the hard hit balls in that series, and including Tuesday night, most of them were hit in the middle of the field or the other way. There's not that many. Targach had the pull side home run, but Logan Britt's, both of his home runs were to left center field, so not dead left field. And not that I'm against pulling the ball. 330 feet is a sure lot closer to home than 405 feet. But a really good hitter stays on the baseball, uses the entire field, and that's what we've been really preaching since day one. And so I think maybe you're seeing a little bit the results of that effort.
Give me all your Tennessee smack. Let's go.
Well, the basketball thing, I actually feel bad. I always say, it's one thing to lose in the tournament. Only one team's going to come out of the tournament happy. But you want to lose feeling like you played your best game and feeling like you lost to a better team, right? If Arkansas loses tonight, there's a pretty good chance it's because Gonzaga's really awesome and they just ran into a better team. Arkansas last year, the deepest team in the SEC to make a tournament run last year, they lose to the eventual champ Baylor. Baylor was just a better team. When you're Tennessee, and by the way, you, Tennessee, complain about your draw, you end up with an 11 seed. The team that you said didn't belong on the 2 line, Duke, had to play a 7 seed. You can't really complain that things didn't break your way. Everything broke your way once the tournament was actually starting. You played well in your opener. And so I just feel bad, man. I just feel bad for the players. I feel in a lot of ways, I feel bad for Rick Barnes. He puts together a game plan. His team shoots, I think, 2 of 18 from 3. And it's the same, Rick Barnes can't win in the tournament. Well, I don't know how many coaches can win in the tournament when your guys shoot 2 of 18 from 3. And part of that is, of course, credit to Michigan. So I feel bad, but it is history. I think Rick Barnes does deserve some blame because history tells us this is who he is. And then the football side, listen, I always say this on my podcast, 2 things can be true. Do I love the idea of high school players reportedly getting 7 figures before they ever step on campus? No. We talked about Quinn Ewers, not quite at this time last year, but in August, September of last year. I feel bad for the players on the team who have actually done something to earn off the field income at Tennessee. They obviously are coming off a nice year in their own right. But what I would also say is the second that NIL was put into place, with no guardrails because the NCAA had no game plan. I was saying this on radio interviews and podcasts 3 years ago when the first, it was called the Fair Play Act in California was the first bill that got passed. And I think it was 2018. I was saying at the time, if you don't think this is going to immediately become pay for play, go to the highest bidder in recruiting, then you don't know college sports. And so I only bring it up to say it's not surprising. I'm not surprised that, we're here this quick with the 2023 class. Is it definitively the new world? I don't know. I don't know how the NCAA can possibly wrap their arms around it at this point. And I also do wonder if the market begins to correct itself. Now, I do have some doubts about that, but I'll be interested to see. I'll be interested to see a couple things, David, and I think these are great topics for you and I to discuss kind of over the course of the summer as things unfold. But, everybody says that you got to get the quarterback in place to build the whole recruiting class. I think in some ways, now that the number is out, it's going to be harder to build the recruiting class because I don't know how you could get a commitment from anybody based on the numbers that were thrown out there if they're true and convincing people to come to Tennessee for a room and board and scholarship. I'm curious to see what it means for the team that's in the middle of spring practice here and that some 16 or 17-year-old got an awful lot of money. What does it mean for me? Hey, I just had 110 tackles last year. I just had 85 catches last year. Where's my money collective? So I think it's an interesting conversation. I'm not surprised that we got here this fast. It's all alleged, but I think the Athletic did a good job of peeling back the layers and everybody figured out who it was. So I think it's going to be interesting, and I don't blame Tennessee. I do think it's probably opened up a whole new can of worms for that coaching staff, and we'll see what happens from here.
All right, let's close things out. You want to say anything to Kelly? You can tell him whatever you want. I mean, I know you guys have had this sibling rivalry here on the show for a while.
We really have, and I just want to tell you to like, share, subscribe, and comment, okay? YouTube is a beautiful place.
Thank you.
I will get on there and do at least one of those things.
When's the last time you went on YouTube?
I actually watched a YouTube video last week.
Was it like, how do I change my tire kind of video? One of those how-to ones?
Yes, actually, it was. I was struggling with a drain in a bathtub.
See?
Figured it out, though.
There you go.
YouTube's a beautiful place.
All right, TexAgs Rewind. See you guys next time.